Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I have an upload where a subscriber witnesses a DNR agent and a civilian killing an unidentified cryptid, possibly a Dogman. Before we get into it, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and my merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. The links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below. My merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters Volume 1, 2, and 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeffrey Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, the links to which are also in the description as well. And last but not least, if you'd really like to help this channel to continue to grow and go, just simply subscribe and click the like button. It's fast and free. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with today's upload. Shall we? Alright, guys. Tonight, I was able to get in touch with Jody again. And like I said, I've been sitting on an email that his brother had sent me a while ago. Almost 3 years now, and we've been trying to figure out one of the best ways to talk about the email and the subject in it. So Jody, how are you tonight?
I'm pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing well. How's your foot doing?
I hope everybody. It's it's not that bad. I don't think it was a brown recluse. I think it was probably a wolf spider that got me. It's turning black and stuff, but I'll get me some moss and that dirt from under the moss and put on it, and it'll draw everything out. And it'll take it a day or two, and it'll be better. Good Lord willing.
Right.
I hope everybody out there is doing good, and hope the good Lord's blessing everybody.
Yeah. I figure if you don't mind, I kind of wanted to. Just you shared with me a story the other day about a neighbor of yours, but I really wanted to if you could kind of give us a kind of like paint a picture of where the location that these stuffs is happening at, like mountains, forests. Can you kind of just give us a little bit of paint us a picture of where all this is going down?
Okay, where the email or the one about the email or one about the hog creature?
That one, the first one, the hog creature one.
Okay, there's a big old long straight that comes down. They call it Granny Squirrel Gap, and it's a big old long straight, and there's solid woods, and it all goes. I mean, it's rural. There's houses everywhere, but back behind those houses, it's solid woods for miles back in there, and it goes across railroad tracks. Cody had his encounter back in there where he shot that thing that I think was a feral human, and there's all kinds of stuff. Just people will be walking up the road and they hear stuff in the woods walking beside them, but they don't ever see them.
Okay.
But where this guy across the road from where this happened, or where it did happen, where it ended up at, is where it stopped. There's a long gravel parking lot, and then there's a place that it's a rock yard, but there's some houses above it, but as you across the road, you can go up in there, and there's a lot of bear back in here too, and there's deer back in here, and so he was in there. I think it was bear season, so he would have shot what he seen, because they usually have meat. That's what they usually get a lot of their meat from. And I had drove down. Now like I said, we live probably a half a mile above it on the mountain that comes down, and these vehicles, when they come down fast, especially the big trucks, and that'll come in here in just a minute.
Okay.
On down where it flattens out, on the left-hand side, there's a big old giant field there, and we used to put a garden out there, and that's about 4 or 5 acres. And we did corn on the lower end, and we'd do everything, and we'd let people come in and get what they wanted and not charge them for it. And then it growed up as kudzu. Now this kudzu got high, and when the kudzu died down, you could see a big old giant brown spot where something had got in there under the kudzu and had been laying. There was 2 spots like that.
Mm.
Something had been in there laying and sleeping under that kudzu. What? I don't know. Bigfoot, Dogman, these things, I don't know. And this thing, I'll explain what it looked like when I'll tell it here in just a second. But it come out of woods, and what it was they was a guy. When I went down, there was a game warden set in that parking lot, and behind his vehicle, his truck, his tailgate was down, and he was on the phone, and there was a guy standing probably 10, 15 feet away from him, and he had a lever action rifle in his hand. And it looked like a 30-30 or a 35, but it turns out another guy told me it was a 30-30. And he said that the game warden, whenever he was standing there, I tried to stop to look at it. In the back of it, it had big old hoofs on it. Not paws or nothing. It had hoofs on the back of it, the back feet. The front looked like long arms on it, and it had what looked like a hog's head with a big snout on it. And on one side of it, I seen teeth sticking out of it, like a pig has a hog has them teeth sticking out.
Right.
And the game warden just motioned me real hateful, go. And he's like, go. So I went on, and I hurried and did what I had to do, and I come back up. There was a black SUV sitting there too, and they had stuff around it and tape around it, and they wasn't letting nobody in there. Well, I talked to a guy that lived 2-3 houses. Let me get this right here, because I don't want to tell no lies.
All right.
One, he was 3 houses. There was a house that looked like a store, that they had a little store in it, and then there was a little camper off down in there, and then there was this guy's house. And he said that he heard the shooting, and he come out, and this thing was coming down out of the woods, and said it was tearing trees down. Even to today, you can see where a path where trees was tore down through there. And I'll take you a picture of it and send it to you. But you can see trees broke off. Probably, they wasn't massive trees. They was, I don't know, a few inches around. But Paul told me that they was up there, and he had started shooting, and then he come running down off that mountain. And then he got over there, and here this thing come over the hill, and he started shooting across the highway. That's how scared he was. cars was even going by, and he was shooting, luckily, over the cars.
Jeez.
And I think he got in trouble for that. And as the thing got down there right to the road, there was an 18-wheeler come, and it clipped this thing, and it throwed it up in the air, and it fell in the gravel part of the road, or the parking lot. And this guy run over there and shot it twice in the head, and it quit moving. And I'll tell you what Paul said it looked like. He said that, but let me finish telling you what happened. He said that the guy was scared to death. He run back over and just stood with that gun. He reloaded his gun, and he just sat there with it cocked, scared to death, shaking all over. And he said that he was up over there. This thing come out of nowhere, growling at him. And he said it looked like a hog, but it had teeth that like he had never seen before. He said it looked like hog cutter teeth. You know, if anybody knows what about a hog, they got cutters. He said they was sticking out of each side, and it started popping. And he said it had the awfulest look, and it scared him. And he throwed up and shot. He didn't give it a chance to walk away or nothing. He just started shooting it. And it come after him. He said it was just like out of a movie, a monster movie, how it was coming at him on them kind of weird-looking legs that had hooves on them.
Right.
And it raised its arms up, and had claws on the arm, on the end of the fingers, and they was big claws. He said they was thick, and he said they was. He said it was hard. They ain't no way they could have been broke. You know, I mean, but he was just freaked out, and Paul was freaked out too. He said that when the black SUV got there, they run everybody off except the guy, and the guy's wife was standing there, and she couldn't say nothing. They were smoking cigarette after cigarette after cigarette after cigarette. And they put them in the back of the SUV, and they said they was smoke boiling out of that SUV where they was smoking inside of it, because they was just freaked out.
Yeah.
And if I hadn't seen the thing laying there on the road or laying in the gravel, I wouldn't have believed it. I'd have thought it was just a plain hog, but he said it was on two legs, and it raised its arms up like it was going to close in on him and grab him, and it scared him even more. And he was firing, and he just run down to where he could get to it. And like I said, he was shooting across the road. Paul said that, and I also, when I seen it, it was a lot longer. It was probably a good 2 feet longer than the game warden's truck was wide.
Wow. So
that was pretty good size, especially if it was standing on two legs. So you're probably looking at what, 8-10 foot?
Yeah, 8 something.
And it just, I mean, it was huge. It was no less than 500 pounds. Because this thing was big around as a 55-gallon drum. And it didn't have, from where I could see, it didn't have no hair on it. You know, unless it had that bristled hair like a hog does. And I never did ask Paul anything about that, but you just look, it was brown. I do remember that, just brown, solid brown. And it went up, it had a big old giant head on it. And I don't know if it was part Dogman, part pig, something they had raised in a laboratory or what, and turned loose in here. I don't know. It just, that you don't know what's in here anymore.
Right.
And it just, that's why I keep a gun right there at my door. And I carry a gun down to just like my daughter got out, going down to go to bed, you know, and I had to watch her walk down the steps so she could go in the house because I don't trust it. I don't trust nothing out here, especially at night. And it wasn't far from. It was just about an eighth of a mile that German Shepherd was killed, laying in the middle of the road from where this thing was killed.
Was that anywhere abouts where that guy had crashed that car after he had seen the childlike Dogman?
Yeah, it was right here in front of my house, just directly right in front of my house, in my driveway.
Okay.
And, behind my house, it's woods, straight back. There's a house right up here, but nobody lives in it. Ain't nobody lived in it since we've been here, 5 years. But all the way back, that goes all the way into Tennessee, Knoxville, Gatlinburg, all that, it's straight woods. You can go in the woods and you could go through it and not see another person and make it into Gatlinburg through the woods. It'd be a long trip, but you could do it.
Right.
And that's how the woods are. And then you got in Robbinsville, Graham County, you've got the Indian land, where there is a lot of things goes on over there. They don't like talking about it.
Right.
But and there's a few things about over there that Terry's grandson was in, and I don't know the whole story, so I can't say, because I don't want to tell something that ain't true.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And
I got a quick question though. In your neck of the woods, when you first told me this story, you and I kind of both, you brought it up. You said Hogzilla, and I said, there's been sightings of them, recorded sightings of them all throughout that area. Running right down through the eastern coast of, down south, the eastern coast of America.
Yeah. Right.
Appalachians, the Great Smokies, and just the way you described it, it was kind of fit,
Yeah, and they will eat you up for no reason at all.
Yeah.
They'll come after you for no reason. And like you said, they summon here, especially these Russian boars, especially over in Nantahala area, where I'll tell you about the email.
The email, yeah.
These Russian boars over in there, the fire sanctuary, and anything that was in there, you couldn't kill it. But they've changed it now because they said it was getting overpopulated. I'm sorry, but they said there's a lot in there. And then you got hunters that go in there and they kill everything they see. If it's a cub, they kill it. If it's a mama bear, they kill it. That's something I don't agree with.
Right.
But these things, I can't say what it was. I just know what it looked like.
Now, when you were close,
what I was told.
When the DNR agent was kind of shooing you away, how close were you to the back of from this creature to you?
From the yellow line in the middle of the road to the white line, and then you take another 10 feet, 10, 15 feet. That's how close I was.
Could you smell anything?
But I can't remember.
Okay.
Honestly, I can't remember.
Right. I just asked because hogs, I
Yeah.
told you about how my family raised auction pigs, and I hate pigs to this day because of it. They're very aggressive, nasty creatures, I think. And, I didn't know if it
will eat anything. Yeah. They'll eat anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. We raised them too, and we had one we called Wilbur, and he was a good 1,500 pounds.
Damn.
And he ended up, now he was a monster. We was going to show him, and he got down in his leg and in his hip, and we tried to get him up, and we had to get a backhoe in and put straps and lift him up. And it even put strain on the backhoe, put him in the back truck, take him to the vet. And, we would bring him back and put him in hay and make him comfortable. And he was as friendly as he could be, and he had big cutters on him. But he never would hurt nobody. He was loving, and, I guess because we raised him from a pig, a piglet.
Right.
And especially my mom, or not mom, but my dad and my brother did. And, he was a monster. And when he passed away, it broke our hearts, because he was gentle as a lamb, but he just couldn't get up. The veterinarian said it was arthritis, but
yeah, pigs can get big. A lot of people probably heard 1,500 pounds or whatever. I remember we had a hog on the farm, and we had an old Chevy dump truck, and this pig, we put the barrels of slop on the back of this truck, and we'd go and dump it into the trough for him. And this pig could put its jowls and just rest its head on the tailgate, and the tailgate was a good, God, I'd say 5 feet. This thing was just huge. It was just a big monster of a pig. They get big. They get big.
Yeah. And these big Russian boars out here that they brought in out of Russia, now they get huge. They was one they called a Hogzilla that was killed, and it was killed, if I'm not mistaken, out here in eastern North Carolina near the river. The sounds and the rivers out there.
Yeah.
It took a guy a year to hunt this thing down because it was so smart.
Yeah, I remember it had big cutters on it and big tusks sticking out of its face. And,
yeah, and a big giant head on it.
Yeah.
Now, this thing didn't have a head like that, but this thing was pretty big. But he said it was on 2 legs and chasing the guy, tearing trees down. It was mad. And I honestly think that it wouldn't have worked out very good if that truck hadn't hit it. Now, this is what was kind of funny about it. The truck driver pulled over automatically, and because he was already slowing down because he seen it coming, and he still clipped it. And clipped it. Well, I mean, he didn't hit it full on. He hit it with his side of his bumper, and it went straight up in the air. And when he run back to it and seen what it was, he said, oh hell no, I ain't having nothing to do with this. And he run back and jumped in his truck and left.
That's a smart man.
That's what Paul told me. He said that guy just took off. He didn't want no part of that. Who that guy was, I wish he would come. I wish he would hear this and come on.
Yeah, that's
say
crazy.
Something.
I can't imagine being that poor guy. You're doing your job. All of a sudden, you come and you clip a monster.
Yeah, especially on 2 legs.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this guy, I haven't seen him since. I haven't even heard from him. Paul told me that he don't even know where he's at. Him and his wife just left, just up and left. They didn't. So I don't know where he's at, if they moved him or what. But I just wouldn't want to run up on something like that. Dogman, Bigfoot, you know what they are. But you see something, you don't know what it is, and it's just, it's gonna make you freeze. You're not gonna know what it is.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's gonna scare them.
It was, I just wanted a quick, they got it back in the Hogzilla back in 2004 in, I'll probably pronounce it wrong, Althea, Georgia. It was 12 feet long and weighed over 1,000 pounds. It was originally considered a hoax until they killed it.
Yeah. it was breaking into a fish farm, I believe, and eating the fish food, wasn't it?
I believe so. Its tusks measured 28 inches. So that's 2 feet and 4 inches long. That's a monster. And that's a natural creature, you know what I mean? Like, that's a wild hog. And you've got nature's producing, obviously, I don't know how people can deny that Sasquatch, Dogman, and any other things can exist when nature can produce an abomination like that, you know?
True. You know, a 2-foot-long tusk is going to cut a man in half.
Yeah. Easily.
And it's just, and it, I just, I remember when they was hunting it, and it was breaking in and eating their feed and stuff. I think it was fish feed, and they had a lot of like steroids and stuff in that feed that they was throwing to the fish, and but it would break. They said they could hear it break into it before they could get out there. It would eat 100 pound of feed and be gone.
Yeah.
When it seen the lights coming, it would go. That's how smart these things are. The bigger the head, I think the brain gets bigger, and it turns into, you know, it turns into being real smart.
Yeah, they're not dumb. Hogs are not.
Yeah.
Pig in general is not a dumb animal. They're very intelligent. As grubby as they are intelligent. Yeah, they killed it with a 50 cal revolver.
A what?
A 50 caliber revolver. 8 times. 8 times.
Yeah. I don't think I could have took a gun out there to shoot something like that. Unless I run up on it. But you know, it would take a big gun. It would.
Yeah, you got to think. I mean, even you know, those hunters down on helicopters when they're in Texas and hog hunting, you know, 5.56 and it hops right back up sometimes.
Yeah, I know it. I've watched a lot of them. They shoot them at night with those AR-15 with the 5.56 and all that in it, and they'll hit them and they'll just jump up and start squealing, trying to get away, and they'll have to pop them again.
Yeah.
And then I've seen them shoot them with these new pellet guns, you know, that they've got out and drop. As long as they hit them between the eyes, they drop. Yeah, but they're not very big.
Yeah, the 50 caliber pellet gun or whatever the heck it is. I've seen those.
Yeah, and
yeah, that's crazy. I just can't imagine how, you know, you got a creature like this that's been proven. You know, you say, you look at somebody and be like, hey, you know what? Back in 2004, they killed a hog that weighed 1,051 pounds and measured to be 12 feet long. And people look at you like you have 8 heads, but it's a true story. And then people want to deny that Dogman or Sasquatch, and that whatever kind of creature this was that came out of the woods, doesn't exist. It just makes no sense to me that, you know, it's a plus with all of the proof. You know, there is proof. You just got to look at it and really read between the lines to get the full story.
Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. I mean, if you go into it with doubts in your mind, without an open mind, and just doubting it, you're not going to believe nothing.
Right.
But if you go in with an open mind, you're going to see everything. And so you're going to see the truth.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of people tell me, oh, I've seen this, you know, especially Bigfoot, and I've seen it. Oh, I believe now. God, I didn't believe you at first. Oh, my God, you know, I can't believe it. I've seen one. And, you know, I said, well, I told you. They was true. They was real.
Yeah.
That it was true.
I remember
and then
Tim Coonbo Baker told me a story one night It was the night of the election, and we were talking. We had just did an interview, and we were just chewing the fat. And I think it was his brother-in-law. And he was, his brother-in-law doubted him and this and that, and kind of, made fun of him a little bit. And he said, "You're gonna see one eventually, where you live, this, and that, out in Alabama, down by Booger Bottom, and this and that." And sure as can be, one night he gets a phone call saying they really are real, aren't they? They're real, really. Tim, they're real. I can't believe it.
Yeah. We was talking about Brenton Sawin.
Yeah.
And he told me, he said, he said, if there's woods out there that's got any size to it, he said, eventually there's going to be a Bigfoot or a Dogman or both in that set of woods at one time or another.
Yeah.
He said, especially if it's got water in it, got food in it, and back here they are. There's bear, there's deer, there's rabbits, there's everything's back here. There's especially raccoons and possums and everything. But one thing I have noticed, that I don't never see no roadkill no more down through here on the roads. Used to, there was a lot of possums and coons. I ain't seen or smelled no skunks lately. In probably 2 years, I haven't smelled none.
Wow. Yeah.
And that kind of makes you wonder, where they're going, what's killing them out, and the squirrels. The squirrels are disappearing. When we first moved in here, we had tons of squirrels. I don't shoot them. I like to watch them play. I've got one squirrel out here now that I watch, and I feed it. When the acorns fall, I get a bunch up in a bucket. I get probably a 5-gallon bucket full of them, and I'll set them out there, and he'll come and just get him a bunch of them in his mouth. His mouth will be big old filled up, and he'll take off with them.
Yeah.
And that's just what I like to see. I like to sit out and watch him, and he's come within 2 feet of me, but I don't reach out for him or nothing because I don't want him to get used to people.
Right.
But it's just enjoyment to watch it.
Yeah.
But I've always got that gun right there with me because at night I've heard stuff walking in here, and it's bipedal. My sister's heard it, and she's seen the eyes. And here recently, looking over a log, there was a set of eyes, and they was yellow eyes, looking over the log at us. They were first I saw. Well, I sat there and looked at it. I throwed a couple things at it, think, well, is it a can or whatever? Never moved. Then it blinked. Holy shit. And I went back in the house and had my gun sitting in there, and I got it. And the next day I went back out there, and it just stayed there watching me, and every now and then it'd blink. And I started speaking to it and saying, I don't want no trouble. I don't want you to harm me or my family. I don't want to harm you. Just go on about your business. Watch if you want, but don't harm my family. Don't scare my family, and everything will be fine. We won't have no problems.
Right.
And because they say if you talk to them, that a lot of times they realize, a lot of times I can pet a dog and a lot of people can't. And that's not bragging. That's just, I love animals. I love especially dogs. And I love Rottweilers. And, I've been able to pet a lot of dogs that people can't. And I'm not going to hurt them. And I've helped a lot of animals that I found on the side of the road that's been run over. I sat with someone one morning, a Rottweiler that had been run over by somebody. And when I got to her, there was blood running down the road, and she kind of growled, and it was a female, and I just started talking to her, telling her, it's all right, it's all right. She was so stove up, I guess, paralyzed and everything. She couldn't move, and she was breathing real fast. And I said, you can go, girl. It's all right. You can go home. And she did. She passed away. I got her out of the road, and I told a lot of people that I didn't, because I didn't move her because I didn't want nobody thinking I run over.
Right.
I was in a Toyota Camry. If I would have hit this dog, now this big dog, this was a big Rottweiler, she would have tore my car off to pieces.
Right. Yeah.
But it broke my heart.
Yep.
And if I was to run over somebody's dog, I'm gonna stop and say something, and because that's just the way I am. I'm gonna tell them, hey, I did it, but I never do it on purpose.
Right.
But yeah, that's what happened down here at this thing with this Hogzilla or Hogzilla, whatever it was.
Yeah, whatever the hell that thing is. So this email that I got sent a couple years back. How do you just want to get right into it?
Yeah, I'll tell you what happened on it. We had started to go into a road over in that Halo. I ain't going to tell the road and stuff because I don't want nobody to get hurt. It goes back around the lake. And it went back in there, and there was nothing in there. And then all of a sudden it started being closed off. And wondered why. Well, when we seen some people coming out of it, we'd went over there and I asked them. First I spoke to somebody, and they said that they was having things running around the work site, and that they was starting to have to carry guns, and they was having a gun set up in each corner over there of where they was building the house. And I thought, why would somebody want a house back in there like that, especially with animals like that running around? The guy just shrugged his shoulders, and that's all he'd tell me. Well, I seen the people that was coming out there, and I knowed some of them, and I spoke to him, and he said that they was over there, and they had got the building on the house, and they had got the footers poured and everything, and they come back in, and in the footers, it was still a little bit wet. They seen these huge dog prints in them, but they didn't look like any kind of dog prints. They was a print, and then it's like it was skinny, like all the way back. They said it looked weird, and plus it had claws on it. They could see the claws, and the claws was longer than a normal dog. And so then they started getting it going up, and I think what it was, they was watching them, and they was coming in smelling what they was doing and checking them out, and they started seeing shadows in the tree lines. You know, some people had come in there and cut the trees out of, pretty good ways out. They had about 100 yards to the tree line. Well, they started bringing stuff with them, binoculars and stuff like that. And then they started seeing dogs, wolves, what they thought looked like wolves. And then they started seeing them walking on two legs, and they really started getting freaked out. So they said something to the owner, and he said, it's just plain wolves and stuff. They turned them red wolves loose in here. That's what they was. And he said, no, it ain't. He said, a red wolf ain't 8 foot tall. We measured it. He said it was 8.5 foot tall at the tree that it was standing on two legs watching us. They're not that big. They can't walk on two legs. And said it turned around and walked off. Well, and this was the foreman over everything, and they was talking about quitting. Well, they give them a lot more money to finish it. And he said, all right, we'll bring guns. We're going to have our guns with us. So every one of them carried a pistol. And plus, they had, like I said, they had big rifles in the corner of each corner where everybody could reach and get one if something happened. One evening, they was going out, and the foreman, he was driving, and they said, "Hey, look at that!" And over to the left, no, it was to their right. They said, "Look at that! Look, look!" And they was two of those dogmen that looked like the wolf kind was standing up watching them. And again, this must have been where they get their attention over here and something else coming at them over here. Well, the foreman, he just happened to see something out of the corner of his eye and heard something, and he looked, and they was one right, had its face and nose right against his window, and it started growling at him when he looked at it, and it scared him so bad, and it tried to it tried to open the door, but he just reached up there and locked it. It was an older work truck, it just had to push down locks. And that was really got them freaked out. And when they took off, the big black dog man that was standing there, it was leaned down looking at him with its nose and face and eyes against the window looking at him. And he said as it was standing there, and he was sitting there and it was looking at him just a couple inches apart. Only thing that was in between him and it was a piece of glass. He said as he sat there, his eyes was yellow, and its eyes started turning red, and it started growling. Really, just, he said vicious. He said it was like it was wanting to tear, wanting to kill him. That's the impression that he got. So they took off, and then it took its claw and clawed the whole side down the back of his truck, work truck stuff. And, well, they didn't go back out there for a couple, I think it was like 3 or 4 days. And they tried to tell people about it. Nobody believed them. They left the gate unlocked. And we drove down in there. And sure enough, we seen them. And we said, let's go. They didn't get close enough to us to do anything or anything like that. I said, I'm not doing this down in here. Let's go. Because we didn't have, we just wanted to see if it was true. And sure enough, we didn't even get to the house and it was true. And we seen them. And then they went back down in there and almost got the house built. But when they almost got it built, they came back and they'd had siding and stuff put up. They had ripped the siding off of it. They tore it off, a lot of the siding off of it. They had to redo all that. And they sent a guy out there in a camper to watch over it. The owners did. He was out of there that night quick. He was in his truck and he flew out there and said he'd never go back. I reckon they was shaking the camper trailer. They was growling. They was putting their face up into the windows. And he was just one man, had one gun, pistol and a rifle. And he didn't believe them. He thought this was going to be an easy $100 a night job. But he seen what it was, and he was lucky, I guess, to get to his truck and get out of there. And I think if they really wanted to hurt him, they would have. They would have got him before he got to his truck. Because, they're quick. And they was talking about how quick they was. They would zip from tree to tree. It was like, it was a blur. Just boom, 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 blurring. And that wasn't far from where me and Kelly seen that one back many years ago. And that thing, when it was on his truck, he said that the green snot coming out of its nose. He said it was nasty, and stuff the way a dog foams, at the mouth and stuff. It was working itself up into a frenzy. Is how he put it. And he took off, and like I said, it caught his work truck all the way down and went all the way through. How metal is on a work truck when they shut. They got the doors on the side. It even went through it in a couple of places. And he tried to find, maybe a broken nail or something out of it, but he never did find anything. So they got pretty strong nails.
Yeah.
So, and there was a guy went out in there, and he, he had to use the bathroom, so he went out, and he just went to one tree to where nobody could see it. The first tree he come to, he just kind of squatted down there, and next thing you know, he's running, and there's one of these things behind him chasing him, and he's got his, he can't run fast. His britches down. He'd used the bathroom all over himself, and a couple of them got guns and started shooting over their heads and over its head, and it turned and run back in the woods. Well, after that, everything kind of got, chilled out a little bit, because they realized, I guess, that they got guns and they're willing to use them. And they finally got the house built, and the people lived out there for maybe a month and a half, and now they got it up for sale. They won't live out there. And it's right next to a lake, and they'd called Forest Service in, from what I hear, and I know somebody that lives on the main highway that road cuts off of, and she said that she's heard growls off of in her yard, and she's also seen stuff run on two legs across the road, and it had ears and a snout, and she just saw the silhouette of it. And I told her what they was and told her to be careful, and don't go, you need a gun, don't go out unarmed. And then her daughter's boyfriend seen one, and he said it looked like, he thought it was an alien because it was a whitish color. I think what he saw a gray one. And it run across the road straight up in the mountains and over into that place. And there's a deer, or not a deer, but a bear hunter camp right across the road from where she lives. And their dogs would raise Cain every night. She said that every night they would be raising Cains, and they would holler at their dogs to hush, and she said sometimes a couple of the hunters would pack up and leave in the middle of the night and not know why. And I don't know if it's because they saw something or what, which that's usually the only reason why somebody'd leave like that. And they was hardcore hunters. They pretty much they act like they're not scared of nothing, but apparently they are.
Right.
Yeah. And this place called Rainbow Springs, which is on the other side, which it wouldn't be nothing for them to go around this lake. There was one night that they said they was going to town to get some groceries. They was out deer hunting in a deer lodge place they was hunting out of. And he said he would just stay there because he didn't want to go nowhere. Well, about an hour later, no, it was about 2 hours later they got back. And he was sitting in there with his gun and their guns, every one of them loaded, all around him, pointed at the door. And the door was locked, and they beat on the door, and they had to beat before he'd ever come to the door. And when he heard their voices, that's when he opened the door. But something had tore the screen door completely off of the hinges,
Mm-hmm.
and had started tearing in from middle ways up to the door. They was scratches all down it, and it had almost made it through it. And he said that there was one bullet hole through it. He had shot through it, and that's when it run. And he said it was a bear. It was a bear. They all of them looked at it and said there was no way a bear could do this. They didn't care what he said. They kept on at him and on at him. What was it? He finally told them it was a werewolf. And he said he wasn't hunting. He wanted to go home. He wanted to go home right now. And I reckon he never went back out there. So that really tore him up pretty good. And there's just a lot of different things that people talk about. There's apple orchards out here and stuff, and that's where a lot of the Bigfoot stay, and they eat those apples and stuff. And the people that own the apple orchard, they say that, they don't mind it. They leave them alone, and they leave them alone.
Right.
It's mutual.
Yeah.
They said they've watched them, but when they brought the cameras out to try to take a picture, it's just like they disappeared, just gone.
Yeah, it's a whole new ball game then.
Yep. And so they quit doing that, and everything's been good so far. And they said they see eyes shine at night, and they're big, real big. And, I used to camp around out there, and I think I run into them, and they never bothered me. But it was still scary, real scary.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine.
So, but that's basically the email.
The email and
do what?
I said, yeah, that's basically the email and the long run.
I'll talk to them a little more about it, the people, and see if anything else happened. I think there was more happened. They just wouldn't tell it.
Right.
I think there was shots fired and stuff because they hurried and built the house, and the house wasn't built really that good. And I guess I wouldn't build it. I guess they did it in a hurry.
Yeah, yeah.
And
which it was a multi-million-dollar house too,
Yeah, it's what it was. It was a mansion.
Yeah.
Out in the middle of nowhere, the only house out there, and it's unreal. When we drove down in there and started seeing them, and they were just going from trees to trees. Let's get out of here. Let's go. I don't want no part of this. And so we did, and we left, and I didn't want to go back down in there. And the girl that lived up there, I didn't go back and talk to her. After I warned her and stuff. And she told me what she had seen and the growls that she had just right under her porch where she was standing. She said there was growls, and her window is a good 8-9 foot. I'm 6 foot, and it's a good 3 foot taller than me. She's had things looking in her window, and her bed is just 3 foot from the door. From the window where she sleeps. And she said she woke up with something looking in her window at her. And so she had to put blankets up over the window. And she ended up moving out there, letting her daughters have the house. She don't live there no more. So they scared her out of there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and she's seen Black Panthers over there, painters, and they know that was just like second nature of seeing them, and they never even got scared over them. But these dogmen, they're coming in everywhere.
Yeah, that is for sure.
And so it's like I've told everybody, don't go out. Don't be a statistic. Go out armed and come back alive. Shoot if you have to, but don't shoot them if you don't have to. But don't be a statistic.
Right. Absolutely. It's not worth it. It's definitely not worth it.
No, it ain't. I mean, it's better for you to end their lives than your life to get ended. Because they don't have no remorse.
No.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't agree with it, but I've kind of I started to realize like the people that when a dog man gets shot and it's killed, there's those people that comment and get upset that they killed it. Well, these creatures don't care. They're not nice. They're not out there being our friend. They're a wild animal that hunts humans or scares humans, torments humans for fun.
Exactly.
And people like to think that Sasquatch is like the Harry and the Hendersons. That's not true either. They're dangerous. These creatures are dangerous. I'm not saying go out and hunt them, but if you're hiking and you have to take the shot, don't feel bad, because it's not going to feel bad if it goes and it gets you first.
Exactly. When it's ripping you apart, it's not going to say, oh well, I shouldn't be doing this. No, it's going to be laughing and happy that what it done, because it'll make it feel like it's done something.
Yep, absolutely.
That's just my opinion on it. And,
that's my opinion as well. I just, it's...
That's just like that, you remember the hunter back years ago in the 1800s, they was trappers. Him and his partner went into this place where they said that there was a wild man in there, or a monster. And they had a lean-to, and it had come straight into them, and the one had shot, I can't, Beeman or something like that was his name, Bauman or something like that.
I remember that story. Do you remember when I did for a while there, I was doing a second video every day like I've been doing, but it was all the old wild men stories from like the 1800s on.
No, I don't remember them.
Yeah, it's
I'll go back and listen to them, because I like to listen to the old thing, especially the old ones.
Yeah, it was like historic wild men hunting.
Yeah, they said that this thing killed it. They was leaving that day, and this thing snuck up behind him, killed his partner, and then rolled all over him like a dog would.
Right.
So that could have been a dog man that done that. You don't know, because it rolled. They said it. That Bauman said it. It rolled all over him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he just took off and left everything and just run and got over out of the valley and would never go back.
Right.
And I think that one president seen one. Teddy Roosevelt saw a Sasquatch. Yeah. Yeah, that would tell everybody something right there.
Yeah,
You know,
how do
I
you
mean,
argue with the president of the United States? Well, I mean,
yeah,
not really, but it's kind of hard to. He I don't even think he was elected at that time. I think it was before he was
yeah, he was
president.
a big game hunter. Yeah, yeah, he
And
was.
what's
He
he?
loved to hunt and fish. Yeah,
Yeah, what did he have to gain out of me? He nothing to gain. He was already on his way to become a president, the most powerful man in the free world. It's just I don't know. I don't know.
yeah, I know. And then you go and, like all these stories that you've been covered and stuff. You know, of people coming up missing, and that's a sad situation. I mean, it's bad that a person cannot go out for a walk without something grabbing him, and I mean, and this they never see them again, except either a body's found or their bones is found years later.
Yeah.
Now that's sad. I mean, it is that they can't, that any woods that something's going to be there. I mean, they could be anywhere, and like Victor said, they're calling them in, and they could be passing through, and well, hey, there's a snack. So
Yep.
and so I don't know. It's just it's freaky. Every bit of it's freaky and it's scary. And I mean, if I go out looking for them, it's gonna be in a vehicle with a gun, and I ain't gonna do nothing. I won't shoot one unless it tries to get in on me. But Terry's got some pretty good things that's happened that he knows about that I don't know about them. But he'll eventually come on, and
Yeah, we're just waiting on him to feel a little better.
yeah, but he's, I love him. I love my brother to death, and he preached for a while, and till his back really got to bother him, and he couldn't do it no more. And he everything he says will be true, and he's 100% honest, and he loves the Lord, and he's my brother, and I'd give my life for him, and he would me too, and I love him with all my heart, and I just hate seeing him, feel bad and stuff, and there's nothing in the world he wouldn't do for me, and I'm the same way with him, and you don't see that much anymore today. It's, and I know we're getting off topic here. I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. Yeah.
But,
well, we're about 63 minutes in. I appreciate you coming on. Do me a favor, don't hang up. I want to talk to you a little bit. And
okay.
I'm glad that your foot is doing better. I was actually worried about you today. I said, geez, I hope he's doing better, because I've had to endure a spider bite, and they're nothing. You remember the picture. I have brown recluse.
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
It was terrible.
Yeah, that was
bad. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. And I was thinking about you, and I was like, God, I hope he's all right. And that was the first question I asked. How's your foot?
Yeah, I know, and I appreciate that, brother, and I appreciate all the prayers and everything. And when I get a hold of something else, I'll give you I'll let you know, but we'll be talking in between then.
Yeah, definitely.
And but I hope everybody is blessed, and please be safe out there. Don't take unnecessary chances. If you're going camping, don't go out with just bear spray. Bear spray is not going to do nothing. If anything, it's going to make them mad, and you're not going to have enough to handle what's out there. Take a big gun, and it don't matter if it's I've got a 12 gauge pump, and they make some of these what they call barbell shells now. They do some power. They power some stuff up, and but there's a lot of good shells out there for a 12 gauge that you can use, and just like the guy come on there, you know, he shot that one with 12 gauge and it took its face off.
Yep.
If that can't tell you, if that don't tell you what a 12 gauge will do, nothing will. So,
very
but
true.
I hope everybody's blessed and everybody is safe out there, and that they watch their six and just stay safe. And
all right, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's upload as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I may share the email that Terry, Jody's brother, shared with me so you guys can hear the email that he sent to me describing everything that Jody just talked about. Great interview, great guy. And I'm hoping that his brother Terry comes on very soon because he's had some encounters in that region as well. So may the Great Spirit watch over us all. May he guide us down that path that we call life. Till later on tonight, my friends.